Hi, this is Chris with Destination Art, and today I am drawing in my sketchbook, my Greek travel sketchbook. Actually, I'm painting. The question was, what do I paint for the first page? Do I paint that wonderful scenery? Do I paint that cat, the food, more food? That's the halloumi cheese. More food. Or do I paint more beautiful landscapes? Or, I don't know, the flowers. The Greek trip, the trip to Greece with Uptrek was amazing. I also could potentially paint Disco Chicken. That's what I affectionately named that guy. But then I finally decided that ultimately the first scene that I saw was maybe the thing that I should paint. And I couldn't decide which version. And I finally ended up on actually the very first picture that I took at Donkey Bay. And so this is overlooking, it's from our hotel overlooking the bay and another hotel. Let's quickly go through them again. You can see there were some different atmospheric pictures that I had. It's amazing with the cloud cover, the Mediterranean turns totally different colors. So I'm showing you here the drawing that I made if you'll notice, my washi tape on my frame is 3 different types, and that's because I ran out of 2 different types. So that's why I was showing you at the very first. I was showing you that I ran out of the washi tape. Okay, so I am using a reference photo, and so the question that I have, the challenge that I have, the journey that I went on that I would like to capture. I did a quick rough sketch of the scene. And if you'll notice, it was kind of windy that day. The ocean, the Mediterranean Sea, there was a lot of waves. And I'm trying to paint that actually with some negative painting techniques. I'm trying to not paint where the water, the lightness of the waves are crashing in. And I have some painting challenges. One big one you'll see in a minute. But one of my painting challenges is painting loose. I tend to paint too tight. And so what I tried to do with those waves was to make sure I was going quickly, decisively, and not obsessing over it, which I guess that's the lesson for watercolor, especially because you are not in control. The beauty of watercolor is the spontaneity and things that it can do, and if you try to control watercolor, it will basically laugh in your face. So here I am, I'm painting, I used a flat brush. I've been using a round brush a lot lately. I used a flat brush this time. And then I made a little mistake. I am painting that hotel that's off in the distance. I think I got it too dark at first. And then also my perspective at the very end. I think I drew it properly, but I don't think I painted it properly. I'm not sure if you've ever had that experience when you were painting. So I also painted the roofs, whatever, how do you say that, on that back hill. So there's 2 hills there. I'm attempting the sky at the moment, and the Mediterranean, it's amazing how many blues there are. And that is the Mediterranean, the Greece palette that I put together specifically for this trip. And so I'm using a combination of ultramarine blue and cerulean blue, I think there, and also made a gray. And I wet the whole sky area, and then I'm also using a negative painting technique to sort of paint around the clouds. And then you'll see here I take my paper towel and I kind of lift up to get those bright tops of the clouds. And I go back in with the gray, which is basically just that blue-green that I made with a little bit of red, and try to give some life to the clouds. You know, sometimes you never know if a painting is going to work until you get to the end and you find if it does or does not, right? So this next section I let the painting dry, and now I'm dry brushing on some of the details for the back hills. I'm starting with the lighter areas of the rocks that are exposed, and then I go in with some greens and try to build up the hill. I'm gonna skip forward a little bit so you don't have to see all of my painting. You will find, well, here, let me just skip forward and then we'll continue. So I had first put down the lighter color of the rocks, then I mixed up a green. I don't remember, I guess it was a sap green, and I used a little bit of burnt sienna and then also some of the blue for the water. That I'm painting right there is the foreground hill, the hill in the front. So I used sort of a more muted color for the one in the back and a brighter color for the one forward. I'm still dry brushing. So far in this, I have used wet on wet, some negative painting, and some dry brushing techniques. You saw there I was taking some excess water off the ferrule of my brush. My teacher, I study with the MLFA a lot, and she touches the tip. I touch the ferrule to remove the water and not the paint. So this time I have mixed up a very dark brown with the blue and the blue ultramarine and the burnt sienna, sorry. And now I'm dry brushing on some of the darker areas, some rocks, and also mixed up a darker green. So I'm trying to paint around the two hotels that I had represented. And then I'm also trying to do the rocks that come out into the ocean. Once again, we're going to skip forward so you don't have to see all of my painting. So I skipped forward just a little bit while I finished up the hills, and now I'm starting in on the windows associated with that hotel. This is where I made my big mistake. I was getting a little tired. I probably should have taken a break. And my perspective on the windows is completely wrong. They're headed downhill and they should be going uphill, or vice versa. I don't remember. Anyway, they're pointed in the wrong direction is the thing. But I think there's a couple of ways I could fix it, and I'm just now thinking about this while I'm sitting here doing the voiceover. I could lift it. If you've never seen that technique before, you could just lift it up. I could also blur it a little bit. But I didn't think of that while I was painting, so now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, I might go fix it. Anyway, but ultimately, the challenge is it doesn't have to be perfect. It's my sketchbook. This is my Greek travel sketchbook. I'm not exactly calling it a journal because I'm not doing it while I was there. I'm doing it since I'm home. I'm trying to paint the interesting photographs that I took while I was there. And as I showed you, I took a picture of this scene, I think every day, if not a couple of times a day while I was there, because it was just so gorgeous. Anyway, I'm gonna let you finish. Oh no, we're done with the video. I hope you have a wonderful day and get out and paint your vacation photos. I will have more on this Greece trip coming up. I hope you have a wonderful day.